not dig this, bro. But dig this.
All right, a couple of weeks ago, Snoop Dogg dropped a new album with Dr. Dre, and it's called Missionary. Follow up to the first album that came out like 30 years ago, which was Doggy Style. So, I mean, right off the bat, you know, I'm not really a fan of Snoop Dogg. I mean, I think he's like funny. I mean, I think it's cool, like a personality. Like, you know, when you see him on like, you know, different shows and he's like at the Olympics and all this stuff. I mean, that dude's a character, man. He's funny. I mean, straight up. But actually, old school Snoop Dogg, like back in the days when him and Dre dropped Deep Cover, which was on that one soundtrack. I think the name of the movie was called Deep Cover. Anyway, dude, that in the summer of '92, that song was large. It was like everywhere because I was in New York that summer, and in all the clubs we went to, man, as soon as they played that song, everybody lost their minds. And this is like the same summer when like Wu-Tang Clan Protect Your Neck came out and everything. So there were some bangers out there, man. But when this one dropped, Deep Cover, everyone was like down, dude. So the thing is, Dr. Dre did the production. And like Dr. Dre, like he's probably known more for like, you know, G-Funk and like this whole like sophisticated gangster music or whatever it is, you know? And, you know, a lot of getting musicians in the studio and having them play live and all this stuff. His production is major. I mean, he's rolling with that one dude, Jimmy, whatever the hell his last name is, who's like this big record producer mogul since back in the late 70s. So, yeah, he's got the standards. He's got the resources. Nothing Dr. Dre puts out is going to be trash. I mean, even if you don't like the style or whatever, the production is unmatched. So, that being said, Dr. Dre is also he's hip hop, man. Like from old school hip hop, like my school. Like when I jumped into hip hop like in '83, Dr. Dre was on the radio, KDAY, on the mix show, you know, with the Mac Attack Mix Masters. I don't think he was officially a mix master, a Mac Attack Mix Master, but he was definitely on that show a few times. Sometimes they used to broadcast live at this roller skating rink. I think it was called World on Wheels. And I remember there was this one night, this was like 1984, because World Class Wrecking Crew, they had some records out. And he was playing one of the records, and someone was on the mic saying, "Yo, we got Dr. Dre from World Class Wrecking Crew in the house." And back then, LA, they were just playing like a lot of fast electro hip hop, you know, like Egyptian Lover, Pretty Tony, like, you know, Arthur Baker beats. So anyway, man, they got the fast beat going, and Dre is just murdering the turntable. And like for us DJs who were like down back then, I mean, listening to DJs on the radio scratch, that was our way of being inspired because, you know, there was no internet. There was no way to see or hear this stuff, you know, but just listening to him cutting it up like that, I'm like, man, Dr. Dre, he's a madman. He's a legit badass scratch DJ. And I mean, he displayed it on some of those early World Class Wrecking Crew records, but not even to his potential. When he was DJing a set and cutting it up with a live crowd there rocking, man, he was hyped, dude. So anyway, the reason why I'm saying this is because it's a collaboration. It's Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Now, let's go to Snoop Dogg real quick. Like, his first joint was that deep cover song, so he was rapping, and his flow was like he had something. I mean, it wasn't just like some. You couldn't really stereotype his flow. You could tell it wasn't New York, but it wasn't really that much L.A. either. But then again, L.A. was kind of trying to get defined back in those days. They weren't really locked in on a LA style yet, really. But Snoop Dogg definitely had a style and he had flow. And as an MC, man, it's nice to hear MCs that are actually trying to work the rhyme out where it sounds funky. Like, I mean, you could just get the rhyme. Like, if you got a line and then, the next bar, you got to rhyme it. I mean, you can get there easy, or you can get there clever and work it out so it kind of flows more with whatever the beat is or whatever the syllables are of the bars. There's a way to work it out where you can you could have a defined flow and have it sound like funky and have the words play off each other. Or you could just write a rhyme and just, say it like it is, kind of simple, and hopefully you come off with like mad style to back it up. I don't know. But anyway, so Snoop is always, I always consider that dude like, he's got some MC in him. I think he's more rapper than MC. And by that, I mean, rappers are like more personalities, more like style, and where MC is just straight academic technique, writing skills, flexing all the stuff you can with the words to make it just intricate and clever. And that's MCing, man. That's like battle MCing, that's like skill, dude. Just straight up skill. But like Snoop, he also is from the old school. And, if he's in the company of like Dr. Dre, and I guess he came up with, that was Ice Cube. Anyway, he was on the scene when hip hop was prevalent. Because even though the East Coast was the capital of hip hop back then, the West Coast was eating it up. So there was plenty of East Coast classics being played on the West Coast. I know because I'm from the West Coast and we were rocking all that stuff, man. So, and it's no wonder Snoop does a cover, of Lottie Dottie. Because, of course, that Slick Rick flow, that's kind of like Snoop is on that, dude. He is all over that, dude. So, I mean, East Coast hip hop, it was big on the West Coast back in the days, just as it was in the whole United States and actually the the world, if you want to say that, because that's all that was really coming out. Everything was coming from the East Coast for the first few years. Hip hop was rocking, and then it, eventually spread everywhere. But anyway, the reason why I'm mentioning these two things is because Dr. Dre, 100%, he's got, his core is hip hop. I mean, he is a hip hop head from the core. Snoop, I think he's also a core hip hop head, but came out later, and I think kind of he's not as core. I mean, I don't know, man. He just seems like he's more rapper than MC. Even though he has a lot of MC in him, I just think he's like this personality. His personality is just so damn big, and he's such a character. It's just he's transcended MC. He's like rapper personality superstar, if you want to say that. So anyway, man. So when it comes to like Snoop Dogg, most of his stuff I don't even like, dude, because it's just like, it's just all into this kind of gangster, pimp, kind of just street stuff that's just kind of I don't know, man. I mean, one or two songs is cool, but like when every song is just kind of wrapped up in all that stuff, I don't know, man. It's just I came up, from a different time in the hip hop era where it was more about battling on the mic and DJs cutting and graffiti was prevalent. I mean, there was just more it was just different, man. It wasn't all about that gangster street life. I mean, there was hints here and there about it, but that wasn't the main thing. The main thing was getting funky, man. Funky beats, funky rhymes, and just trying to take it to another level. Everyone was just trying to get better back then, which was exciting. And it's like the sport of it's like there's a spirit, there's like a sportsmanship almost like in the old school where everyone was just trying to, outdo each other, and competition that kind of made the music and just the culture thrive, not by money. There was no money in hip hop really back then. When money became a part of it, then hip hop was thriving off of money, not this desire to be like, the top rated MC, the best DJ, the dopest beats. I mean, that stuff is just like, as long as fools are getting paid, man, that just took a back seat. So anyway, so now it's cool that these dudes dropped a new album in 2024. I mean, it's 2025 now. We're in the first week of the new year. But, man, these dudes are my generation. So these dudes are in their 50s. And I did a video about LL Cool J when he dropped The Force. That's another dude from my generation. But Dr. Dre, and LL, still relevant. I mean, I've looked on his Spotify and his YouTube page and got millions of hits for his music. So he's still relevant, man. He was saying, I want to put something out as an old schooler and see if I'm still relevant, see if I can still impact the culture. And he did, man. So now Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, they put this out, and already millions of hits on their videos and on their streaming platforms. So other artists from my era of hip hop are dropping new stuff, and they're appealing to enough people where they're still relevant, dude. I mean, at least making enough noise where they're in the discussion, So, and that's dope, man. And but not just that, it has to be cool, because if they drop something and it was just like, this is whack, I wouldn't even be making this video, dude. Or maybe I would just to talk about it, but there's okay, I mentioned Dr. Dre, 100% hip hop from the core. Snoop Dogg also is from that era. He's got hip hop in him too, probably more than not. So on this album, dude, there's a track called Hard Knocks. Now, that track, the beat, that could be on a boom bap record back in the 90s. It could be on a Nas album. It's that's how dope it is. It's it's a hip hop track, There's a drum break in there. I mean, Dr. Dre still using drum breaks, man. All that equipment he has, dude. Access to all those musicians. Still drum break on that track, dude. And yeah, Snoop, he's rhyming. Like I said, man, he's making an effort, dude. I can hear, the words he's rhyming and stuff. It could have been simple, but there was a couple of rhymes where I'm like, oh, rhyming that word with that word. All right, like still thinking. The dude is still trying to be clever on the mic, which is cool, man. That's the MC in him, dude. So that's one track, and there's another track, dude. I can't even come with it right now, but there's another track on that album that's also like for the boom bap, for the old school hip hoppers like me, like who are down with that sample bass, break beat, MCs ripping the mic, DJs cutting kind of thing. There's another track on there. I can't think of it right now because, like, you know, I don't really prepare for these videos because I want it just to be like a conversation. Like, you know, if we just met and we were talking about it like on the spot. So, but yeah, those two, they gave us those two tracks, which is super cool. And of course, there's all that other stuff that, you know, contemporary popular music wants to the sound of contemporary popular music. It's got some of those on there too, and some other stuff that's just like, you know, just falling in the pocket. It could be like almost R&B, you know. So yeah, man. But overall, because dude, back in the days when I used to buy full length albums, there wasn't that many full length album hip hop records back in the late 80s, early 90s. It was mostly 12-inch singles. And sometimes they only put out one or two singles, but then you heard the album, like the cassette, and then you heard, oh, dude, that track, I need that track. I got to buy the whole album to get that track. So I would get the whole album to get the track. Now, back then, an album, if you were lucky, had like 3 good songs on it. Maybe 4. But if you had 3 good songs on the album, that was all right. Because doesn't mean the other songs sucked. They just weren't as good. You know, not good enough to like have in rotation on your, you know, on your DJ set or just, you know, on your mixtape. But so this Snoop album, it's got like at least 2, maybe 3 joints that I dig. So that's cool, man. I think there's like 16 tracks or something, but at least 3 of those are like I can listen to the whole song like all the way through and be bobbing my head like, you know, it's cool. And like I said, man, some of these other songs, dude, I'm listening to, I'm just like, dude, I can't listen to this, man. It's just too stupid, or it's too ghetto, or it's just too like, you know, I don't know. Some of these songs, these kind of songs, you only have to hear maybe once or twice a year to get that fix. It's nothing you want to be listening to like every day or even like once a month. It's just like, it's just so, I don't know, dude. It's just not what hip hop was founded on, dude. Anyway, man. So yeah, Missionary, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. It's worth checking out. And I'm mentioning it, one, because that's Generation X making that, my generation. Whenever my generation is doing something significant, good or bad, I gotta talk about it. In this case, it's pretty good enough. And yeah, what was my other point? Oh yeah, because they had these 2 tracks on the album that are like, that would fall in the category of boom bap hip hop. You know, the kind of hip hop that, you know, we like to listen to, you know, from the 80s and 90s. Anyway, hope you liked the video. It's been a while since I made one, you know, holidays and all this stuff. I'm coming at you with more soon. All right, until then, peace and vinyl.